the Dolphins, if it wasn't for an ill-timed Damian Harris Patriot fumble in week 1, the Dolphins would be right next to the Lions in the winless department right now, Albert. So Tua had 300 yards passing, but another loss for the Dolphins, and the trade deadline is right around the corner. Are you hearing anything on the Deshaun Watson front at all right now and what the Dolphins might be thinking on that subject?
Right now I'm not, but, I know that they've monitored it, and, I think it's obvious that that's something that would have to rise to the ownership level, because of the sensitivity of it. My guess, Rich, would be that there's going to be exploratory phone calls, one way or the other. Between the 4 teams that we've talked about, the Eagles, the Dolphins, the Panthers, and the Broncos, and then the Texans, whether it happens from one side or the other before the November 2nd trade deadline. I don't think Nick Caserio is budging much in wanting to get his price. And, understanding that a lot of how his time in Houston sets up is going to be framed by what happens with Deshaun Watson and what he's able to get back for Deshaun Watson. And I'm not sure any of these teams are willing to pay full price right now. So, I think the likelihood is that the Dolphins finish the season with Tua. To me, what's so interesting about it is, you look at the progress that Brian Flores and Chris Greer made over their first 2 years, and now they're taking a step back. And what to me is worse than the step back, and the stuff that you really have to pay attention to, is all these guys they had, all these picks they've had, right? And they tore the thing down, right? They tore the thing down, and we're going to build it back up with all of these draft picks. Well, they drafted a left tackle out of USC, Austin Jackson, right? Now he's playing guard. He moved over to guard. They got their second-round pick from this year, Liam Eichenberg, playing left tackle. They drafted a corner out of Auburn last year in the first round. He's not playing much. They draft Tua, and Tua's been okay, but they drafted him in front of Justin Herbert, which really could leave a mark long-term on the franchise. And so you look at that, and then you look at the players they traded away, and it's Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's become an all-pro in Pittsburgh, and it's Laramie Tunsil, who may be the best left tackle in the league for Houston. And so, if I'm, Dolphins ownership, that's sort of how I'm analyzing all of this and how I'm looking at all of this. And I'm saying, where we were 2 years ago, where we were 3 years ago, we're better off now. And have they taken all this capital they picked up? Because they did a great job of just basically accumulating capital. And have they turned it into a bunch of good football players? And I think that's sort of how Brian Flores and Chris Greer are going to be evaluated going forward. And the one thing that could change the dynamic altogether, and make maybe some good players look great, is bringing an elite quarterback in there. So I don't think anybody's in the hot seat yet or anything like that. But if you come out of this year and you're Brian Flores and Chris Greer and you think Tua is just okay, and you're going into year 4 and you're probably not going to get a year 5 if you don't make the playoffs in year 4, maybe that's where you make the move and you try to strike with a move for either a Deshaun Watson or a Russell Wilson or an Aaron Rodgers or somebody like that.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.